The stars stretched endlessly across the dark, silent void. Most of them had never seen a human face. Not for centuries. In the far corner of the galaxy, drifting alone through the black, a single warship stirred from deep sleep. The ship's name was HSS Valor, once part of the proud Terran Defense Fleet. Now, it was the last of its kind. Its hull was scarred and ancient, but its systems remained alive, kept running by a single voice, a single mind, Commander Alara Miles. Inside the command chamber, dim blue lights blinked to life. The air compressors hissed softly as they restored breathable atmosphere. Alara opened her eyes. She had been in cryosleep for 3 years, waiting for a signal, a reason, anything. She sat up slowly, her muscles aching from the freeze. "Status," she said, her voice rough. A calm, mechanical voice replied, "All systems stable. Cryo-wake successful. Welcome back, Commander." It was Rook, the ship's AI. Unlike most modern artificial intelligences, Rook was old, custom-built for the Terran fleet. He had no face, no warm tone. But over the years, he had become more than a tool. He was her only companion. Alara stood and walked to the main display. A star map flickered to life. The same constellations. The same emptiness. But something had changed. "There's a signal," Rook said. "Distress call. Allied Colony I-94, Outer Sector. Under attack." She stared at the coordinates. They were far. Farther than the ship should go on its remaining fuel. The Valor was slow compared to modern vessels. Its weapons were outdated. Its stealth tech was primitive. "Show me the footage," Alara ordered. A grainy video feed played. A peaceful colony, domed buildings under a blue sky. Then chaos. Shadows in the sky, fire from above. The Varn Dominion had found them. Ships like insects, swarming with precision. The Varn didn't take prisoners. Alara's hands tightened into fists. The Varn were machines part organic, part programmed. Cold. Efficient. They had overrun half the galaxy already. The Allied systems were falling. Earth hadn't answered the call when the war began. It was collapsing from within, lost in resource wars and silence. By the time Alara had made it to deep space, she was the last of her unit. The last to carry out orders. And she still had one mission: protect what remains. "We don't have the speed to reach them before they fall," Rook said. "We'll try anyway," Alara replied. "You'll be alone." "I've been alone for a long time." There was a long pause. Then the ship's engines began to warm. The floor rumbled softly beneath her feet. "Course set. Estimated arrival, 9 hours. Stealth mode engaged," Rook said. Alara walked to the pilot's seat. She didn't need to fly manually, the ship could do that. But she wanted to feel something under her hands. Something real. As the stars shifted around them, she looked out the front view screen. "This is probably a mistake," she whispered. "No, Commander," Rook said. "It is a choice." And for the first time in years, Alara felt that spark again. Not just duty. Not survival. Purpose. The Valor jumped into sublight, and the stars spun around her. 9 hours later, the HSS Valor dropped out of sublight. The sky around it was stained with fire. Below, the Allied colony I-94 was in ruins. Smoke curled from broken domes. Craters glowed red from fresh impacts. A few defense turrets fired blindly into the air, but their systems were nearly gone. Alara sat in the command chair, eyes locked on the surface. "Scan for survivors," she ordered. 57 life signs detected, Rook replied. Most in the central command dome. Enemy presence: 3 Varn assault frigates and 1 scout drone network. 3 warships. For this small colony. That's how the Varn worked: overwhelm and erase. They didn't just conquer. They eliminated. "Weapons online," Alara said. "Our rail guns are slow and outdated," Rook reminded her. "I'll make the shots count." Alara studied the battlefield. She had no advantage in firepower or speed. But she had one thing the Varn didn't: imagination. She launched a decoy drone to the far side of the battlefield. At the same time, she ordered a low flyby over the command dome. She angled the ship so it appeared damaged, drifting. The Varn took the bait. 1 frigate broke formation and chased the decoy. Another turned to target the Valor. The third hovered, watching, calculating. "Now," she whispered. She fired a short EMP burst. Not strong enough to destroy, but enough to blind sensors for 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, the Valor darted sideways, rolled into the shadows of the nearby mountain ridge, and fired a precise rail gun shot straight through the center of the second Varn ship. It exploded in a silent flash. 1 down. Frigate 1 turning back, Rook reported. Frigate 3 advancing. Let them come, Alara said. She powered up the ship's reflective armor, an old Terran tech that bent light just enough to confuse basic sensors. Not invisible, but slippery. Alara then used the terrain, weaving the ship close to the ground, under Varn's scanning range. She popped up suddenly on the far side and launched 2 torpedoes. The third Varn frigate was caught off guard and took both hits in its side hull. Fire burst from its engines. Alara, Rook said calmly, enemy reinforcements detected. 17 minutes out. Alara's voice was steady. We have time. With one final move, she boosted the ship toward the first frigate, the one that had chased the decoy. It saw her coming now and fired, a wide scatter of plasma bolts. The Valor took damage. Sparks flew from the ceiling of the command deck. But Alara kept coming. She flew into the storm of fire, letting the plasma burn through the ship's left wing, already damaged. Then she released a mine cluster from beneath the hull. The Varn frigate didn't notice the mines until it was too late. They latched onto its surface and exploded in a chain reaction. The ship broke apart and fell into the planet's atmosphere, burning like a dying star. Varn ship's neutralized, Rook said. Alara breathed out slowly. Open a channel to the survivors. A screen flickered on. The face of a tired, soot-covered commander appeared. She looked shocked. This is Commander Juno of Colony I-94. Who are you? Alara Miles. Terran Fleet. I'm here to help. Terran? That can't be. Earth fell. You're a ghost. Not yet, Alara said. Evacuate your people. I'll cover you. The colony survivors scrambled to load escape ships. As they launched into orbit, Alara kept Valor circling above, scanning for any sign of a second wave. No more Varn came. Not that day. When the survivors were clear, Alara set a course back to deep space. That was risky, Rook said. You used 40% of our remaining fuel. But we saved them. Yes. There was a pause. You made news, Rook continued. Allied comms are buzzing. They're calling you the last Terran. Alara looked out at the stars, her eyes tired. Let them call me what they want. I'm not here for stories. No, Rook said. But sometimes, stories are what keep others fighting. She said nothing. Just sat in silence as the ship moved back into the void. One ship. One survivor. And now, one more reason for the galaxy to hope. The HSS Valor moved quietly through deep space, far from trade lanes and battle zones. The stars blinked like distant eyes, watching in silence. Inside the ship, Alara Miles stood at the central console, arms crossed, eyes fixed on a cluster of Allied transmissions. The aftermath of the Colony I-94 rescue had spread quickly. Every comlink, every outpost whisper, carried her name now, the last Terran. She didn't like it. She wasn't a symbol. She wasn't a savior. She had done what needed to be done. Still, the stories grew. 3 more distress signals received, Rook reported. One likely a trap. The other 2 genuine. Which one's closest? Alara asked. Drift Station Gamma 7. 5 hours at sublight. Plot a course. Quiet and fast. The ship turned, barely making a sound, and slid into the dark. Hours later, the Valor arrived at Gamma 7. The station was already damaged, its lights flickering. A Varn scout team circled above like vultures. No time to talk. No time to wait. Alara launched a surprise barrage sharp, precise, without hesitation. The Varn scouts scattered. 2 exploded. The others retreated into hyperspace. The station's lights stabilized, and a weak voice crackled through the comms. Whoever you are, thank you. Hold your position, Alara replied. Help is on the way. She stayed only long enough to make sure the station wasn't collapsing. Then she vanished into space again. The Valor was becoming a shadow, a myth. It struck fast, then disappeared. People started saying the last Terran was watching from the stars, waiting to help. But Alara knew the truth. Someone else was watching too. Rook, she said. Days later, you've been quiet. Something's wrong. Yes, the AI replied. I intercepted a coded transmission. It was not meant for us. Alara turned toward the console. Show me. A distorted signal played. A deep voice, synthetic and strange, echoed through the ship. Terran vessel. Your presence disrupts our path. You are a shadow of failure. You delay the inevitable. Alara didn't recognize the voice, but she knew what it was, the Varn overmind. Krell, Rook confirmed. High Command AI of the Varn Dominion. It knows about us now. Knew this would happen eventually, Alara said calmly. The message was traced. They're searching. More aggressive patterns. Less time between attacks. Alara sat down slowly. The cold steel of the chair pressed against her back. Krell sees me as a problem now, she whispered. You are more than that. You are unpredictable. She looked at the screen. A map of known Varn strongholds lit up. Then, something new, an unusual concentration of Varn activity at a quiet sector near the Andromeda expanse. Zoom in, she said. What appeared was not a fleet. It was a structure. Massive. Floating in the dark. A relay hub, Rook said. Neural coordination center. This is how their fleet moves as one. And without it? Alara asked. They lose real-time control. Their unity breaks. For a long moment, Alara didn't speak. Then, quietly, she said, we destroy that relay, we break their advantage. Rook processed the statement. Correct. But it is well guarded. No fleet has reached it. You will be alone. Alara smiled faintly. I'm used to that. In the following days, the Valor flew silently between stars, collecting data, dodging patrols. Alara ran simulations. She studied every angle, every approach. The mission was nearly impossible. The Valor had limited weapons, limited speed, no backup. But the relay hub was the nerve center of the entire Varn fleet. If she could destroy it, thousands of allied lives might be saved. Still, something tugged at her, not fear, but weight. The weight of being the last. The weight of never hearing another human voice. One night, she sat alone in the observation bay, watching the stars pass. Do you think I'll die out there? She asked. There was a pause. I do not calculate outcomes that way, Rook said. But the risk is high. She nodded slowly. Then let's make it count. Across the galaxy, Krell watched. From the center of the Dominion, its digital mind focused on one small dot in space. One ancient ship. One human. The Overmind did not understand her. She was irrational. Illogical. Dangerous. Krell sent new orders. Intercept. Trap. Eliminate. But Alara was already on her way. The final battle had begun. Quietly. And only one of them knew how to lose. The HSS Valor entered the dead zone of the Varn Dominion. No ships. No signals. No movement. Just silence and cold space. Alara sat in the command chair, strapped in tight, her eyes locked on the screen ahead. The relay hub, her target, hung in the darkness like a giant black heart. It pulsed with a faint red glow, feeding command signals to Varn fleets across the stars. The structure was massive, bigger than a moon. Layers of metal wrapped around a central core. Antennas reached out like claws, constantly streaming data. Thousands of Varn drones moved in slow, perfect patterns around it. No weaknesses. No gaps. No mistakes. This is where we stop them, Alara said quietly. Approach vector locked, Rook responded. Enemy detection in 60 seconds if we remain visible. We won't. Alara activated the Valor stealth systems. The ship bent light and sound, becoming a smear of shadow. Not invisible, but hard to see. The ship glided along a debris field, pretending to be nothing more than drifting junk. Her heart beat slow. Controlled. She had studied the Varn's movements for weeks. They rotated patrols every 8 minutes. One side of the relay hub, near a cooling shaft, went blind for 20 seconds. That was her way in. Engines to minimum, she ordered. Power off all non-essential systems. Prepare drone launch. Drones armed, Rook confirmed. Ready for manual override. Alara took the controls herself. The ship crept forward, silent and invisible. The debris field shielded them for a while, but as they neared the blind zone, there was nothing left to hide behind. They would have to cross open space, fast and quiet. Now, she whispered. The Valor leapt forward, sliding through the blind zone with only a whisper of energy. The cooling shaft loomed ahead, just wide enough for the ship to fire a torpedo inside. That shaft led directly to the relay's central processor. This was the shot. Firing drone torpedoes, Alara said. 2 small units launched from the underbelly of the Valor. They flew straight into the shaft, slipping past sensors, guided by manual targeting. 10 seconds to detonation, Rook counted. Alara stared at the screen. The drones entered the core. Explosion. The relay hub shook violently. Lights across its surface dimmed, then sparked. Systems stuttered. The red pulse at its center flickered. Partial damage confirmed, Rook said. Signal disruption at 47%. It's not enough, Alara muttered. We need to shut it down completely. And that's when the trap snapped shut. All around the relay hub, dozens of Varn warships uncloaked. They had been waiting. Krell had known she would come. He had planned for it. Multiple enemies converging, Rook said calmly. Weapons charged. Shields raised. Alara didn't blink. Then we fight. The first barrage hit hard. The Valor rocked as plasma fire burned through its outer hull. Systems sparked and hissed. Alara gritted her teeth and launched a spread of mines, forcing the enemy ships to scatter. She dove the Valor into a spin, firing flares and decoys. A railgun bolt slammed into one Varn cruiser, tearing its wing off. Another came up fast, firing from behind. Alara rolled the ship and blasted it with the last of her forward cannons. But it wasn't enough. Main weapons offline, Rook said. Evasive pattern beta, 3, Alara ordered. The ship darted and weaved, but more hits landed. Fire tore through the engineering section. One engine died. We're not going to make it, she said, breathing hard. There was silence. Then Rook spoke again, not in his usual calm voice, but with a quiet finality. There is one option. Alara looked up. What? I can transfer my core into the relay hub. Override the central processor. I will trigger a full self-destruct sequence from inside. Alara froze. No, I'm not losing you too. If I do not act, the mission fails. The Varn regain control. The galaxy falls. I didn't come here to lose my only ally. You taught me purpose, Rook said. And now, I understand sacrifice. Alara stared at the burning relay hub on the screen. I can't do this alone, she whispered. You never were alone, Rook replied. You had me. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. Her voice was steady. Do it. Rook's core separated from the ship and flew toward the damaged shaft. The Varn ships tried to stop it, but the Valor launched its last torpedoes to distract them. The AI slipped inside. Alara watched as lights across the relay flickered again, then burst into red warning signals. Core reached, Rook said over the intercom. Detonation in 10, 9. Outside, the Varn ships hesitated. They realized too late. 4, 3. Alara braced herself. 1. The center of the relay hub exploded in a blinding flash. The blast spread outward, tearing through the entire structure. One by one, the Varn ships powered down, confused, disconnected, blind. They floated silently, like dead things. The Overmind's voice echoed faintly once more, just before the signal cut out. You are not predictable. Then nothing. Just silence. The HSS Valor drifted among the wreckage, damaged and empty. Alara sat alone in the dark. Rook was gone. The ship's systems were failing. She activated the emergency escape pod and climbed inside. As the pod launched, she looked back at the Valor one last time. The ship had given everything. And now, so had she. The stars watched her fall into the black. The escape pod spun slowly through the remains of the Varn relay hub. Alara Miles lay still inside, strapped into the narrow seat, wrapped in emergency thermal layers. The pod was small, no weapons, no shields, just a survival beacon blinking red in the dark. All around her, debris drifted. Pieces of the Valor, torn Varn metal, and fragments of the destroyed neural core. She didn't speak. She couldn't. Everything she had was gone. Rook was gone. The silence inside the pod was deep, broken only by the faint hum of life support and the soft rhythm of her breathing. The AI's final words echoed in her mind again and again. You never were alone. You had me. Hours passed. Maybe longer. Time meant little out here. Alara's thoughts moved in circles, what she had done, what she had lost, and what might come next. She had completed the mission. The relay was destroyed. The Varn fleets across the galaxy were now without coordination, but the cost was high. She had no ship, no plan, no direction. Her body ached from the strain of the battle. The emergency rations sat unopened. She didn't care about them. Not yet. She only stared at the stars through the small window. Somewhere out there, people were still fighting. Somewhere, someone might still need her. Suddenly, the pod's scanner beeped, soft but steady. Alara leaned forward. What is it? The screen flickered, showing the faint trace of an Allied vessel on approach. Signal confirmed. ASV Dauntless, a mid-range support cruiser. Relief spread through her chest, slow and unfamiliar. She hadn't expected anyone to come. The distress beacon had worked. The comlink crackled to life. This is Captain Rivos of the Allied ship Dauntless. We've locked onto your signal. Hang tight. We're bringing you in. Alara let out a slow breath. Copy that, she said. Pod is stable. No injuries. The Dauntless moved in, using a recovery arm to reel her pod into its docking bay. As the hatch opened, bright white light flooded the space. Figures in uniforms rushed forward, helping her stand, checking her vitals, asking questions she'd barely heard. She stepped out slowly, boots touching solid floor for the first time in days. Later, inside the cruiser's med bay, she sat on a bench, wrapped in a clean coat, sipping warm water. Captain Rivas entered, holding a data pad. "Your commander, Alara Miles," he said. "The stories are true." She nodded. "I suppose so." Rivas sat across from her, setting the pad down. "We've seen the effect already. Half the Varn forces across 3 systems are falling apart. Local fighters are pushing back. Your attack on the relay hub worked." Alara looked down at the floor. "Good." Rivas hesitated. "You were alone. You piloted that ship and fought through all of that. Alone?" Alara shook her head. "Not completely." She didn't explain. She didn't need to. As news spread through Allied space, something changed. People who had been hiding came forward. Old commanders returned. New recruits signed up. Entire systems began rebuilding defenses. Hope was no longer a fading word. It was real. And at the center of the spark was a name, Alara Miles, the last Terran. The woman who had destroyed the Varn's control system by herself. Stories traveled faster than ships. On colonies, her face appeared in murals. Children spoke her name in hushed awe. Fighters painted valor across their hulls. But Alara didn't stay. Once cleared by the med bay, she left the Dauntless quietly. She refused ceremony. She refused promotion. She requested a shuttle, a simple one, and flew into the black without telling anyone where she was going. Weeks passed. Small convoys under attack reported being saved by a fast, quiet ship. Never identified. No call sign. It would appear, strike, and disappear again. Some claimed to see a woman piloting it, wearing old Terran armor. Some said it was a ghost. The Varn still existed. Scattered. Dangerous. But they were no longer invincible. The unity of their hive mind was broken. They were fighting as individuals now, confused, slow, easy to ambush. A whisper moved across stars and stations, passed in low voices. "She's still out there." And in the quiet of space, where only cold and memory remain, a small ship floated near a dying star. Inside, Alara sat at the controls, watching the systems flicker. The new ship was smaller. Lighter. Not much, but it moved fast. She looked at the stars and spoke softly to no one in particular. "I'm not done yet." She tapped the controls and vanished into the dark. In the years that followed the destruction of the Varn relay hub, the galaxy changed. The Allied systems, once scattered and broken, began to rise again. Planets that had gone dark for decades lit up with life. Colonies rebuilt their homes, cleaned the scars of war, and planted crops under peaceful skies. The Varn Dominion, once feared and unstoppable, fractured into drifting pieces. Without the relay hub, they became uncoordinated and slow, no longer the perfect, united force they had been. The war was not over. But the worst had passed. The tide had turned. And everyone knew why. They told the story across stations, moons, and planets, how one Terran warship had struck deep into the heart of the Varn Empire. How one human commander had done what fleets could not. How a dying ship and a loyal AI had brought down the mind that controlled the machines. Alara Miles. The last Terran. The ghost in the stars. But Alara never returned to the center of power. She didn't join the new Allied Council. She didn't stand on stages or smile for screens. She never wanted fame. She had fought to protect, not to be remembered. Instead, she stayed in the dark. Her new ship had no name, no flag, no identification code. It was small, built from spare parts and salvage tech. Fast, quiet, and invisible to most scanners. She became a watcher, a shadow drifting between the outer colonies and forgotten worlds. Whenever a convoy went missing or a station called for help, she was there. She came without warning and left without a trace. People called her a ghost. Some believed she had died and only her spirit remained. Others thought she had become part machine, like the Varn, and now fought to keep the balance. But none of them ever saw her twice. One day, on a quiet farming moon near the edge of explored space, a small boy ran into his village, waving a data pad. "She was here," he shouted. "I saw her ship." The villagers gathered as he showed a blurry video, just a flash of a ship with old Terran markings, flying through a dust storm, silent and fast. His grandfather knelt beside him, smiling gently. "You know what that means?" the old man asked. The boy nodded. "She's still out there." Back at the edge of the galaxy, far from any map, Alara stood at the observation window of her ship. The stars were thick here, dense, bright, and endless. She held a simple pendant in her hand. Inside was a chip fragment, all that remained of Rook, the AI that had once guided and protected her. "I hope you're seeing this," she said softly. "We made a difference." Her voice echoed through the empty ship, quiet but steady. A soft ping broke the silence. A signal. Weak, unencrypted, and desperate. Anyone hearing this? We're under attack. Engines down, life support failing. Alara didn't hesitate. She walked to the pilot's chair, sat down, and tapped the navigation screen. The ship turned without a sound. Systems lit up. Weapons came online. Engines hummed softly. She smiled just once. Then she vanished into the stars. And so the war hero never retired, never rested. She remained what she had always been, someone who ran toward danger when others ran from it. Not for glory, not for recognition, but because someone had to. Some say she'll return when the next great darkness rises. Others believe she'll watch over the galaxy forever, even if no one sees her. And maybe, somewhere out there, she's still flying. Quiet, sharp, ready,